The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old.
John 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Sandy Hook Elementary School, 12 Dickinson Drive.
Okay, I've got that. What's going on down there?
I believe they're shooting at the front glass. Something's going on.
All right, I want you to stand on the line with me. Where are you in the school?
I think there's somebody shooting in here at Sandy Hook School.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Because somebody said, God, I saw a glimpse of somebody. They're running down the hallway.
Okay, shots were fired about 3 minutes ago. Quiet at the time.
Newtown's reporting. One suspect down. The building has not been cleared.
That comes to the base of the school.
On the morning of December 14th, 2012, the quiet town of Newtown, Connecticut, began like any other peaceful day. Parents prepared their children for school. Teachers reviewed their lesson plans, and Sandy Hook Elementary School opened its doors to nearly 500 students. Newtown was known as a safe and close-knit community, the kind of place where people greeted each other by name and where schools felt like the heart of the neighborhood. No one could have imagined that within hours, this ordinary morning would turn into one of the most devastating tragedies in American history. Earlier that day, 20-year-old Adam Lanza had already set a horrifying plan into motion. Before leaving his home, he shot and killed his mother, Nancy Lanza. Investigators later learned that she had been shot while still in bed.
Although his mother and father had divorced, he had an older brother, and his mother was catered for in the alimony settlement. Because she didn't need to work, she did, however, tend to focus a lot of her attention on Adam. And he became much more needy and codependent than his older brother.
He was OCD, he had developmental delays, he had poor social skills per se.
Unaware and unable to defend herself, with her car and several firearms taken from the home, Adam Lanza drove towards Sandy Hook Elementary School. The school had implemented security procedures, including a locked entrance that required visitors to be buzzed in. But Lanza forced his way inside by shooting through the front glass window near the entrance. It was just after 9:30 a.m. Inside the school, the first calls to 911 came almost immediately. Staff members reported the sounds of gunfire, screaming, and chaos. Across classrooms and hallways, teachers reacted with incredible bravery, rushing to hide children in closets, bathrooms, and corners of the room. Some barricaded doors with furniture, whispering to their students to stay quiet, stay low, and stay together. The heroic efforts of these educators saved many lives that day.
Something going on at our school, and I just wanted to make sure someone was on their way.
It's classified as having Asperger's syndrome, possibly autistic as well, but he certainly started to develop problems when it came to socializing and mixing in.
He refused to eat food unless it was provided and prepared in a certain way. So very early on, we see this obsessive kind of quality about his beliefs. He hated being touched, he didn't like social contact, he avoided having conversations and communication with children.
In a matter of minutes, the situation turned catastrophic. Lanza entered 2 classrooms, killing 20 children between the ages of 6 and 7, along with 6 adult staff members who tried to protect their students. The violence was rapid and overwhelming, leaving little time for anyone to understand what was happening. For the children and teachers inside the school, it was a moment of pure terror.
And once again, I'm Diane Sawyer here at ABC News headquarters in New York. We're coming back on the air with the breaking news. New reports about the casualties in that shooting at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. And I want to go straight to ABC's Pierre Thomas because he's learned more about how many may have been injured and may not have made it. Pierre.
Diane, we're being told by multiple state and federal sources that unfortunately more than a dozen people have been shot and killed at that school, and that number includes children.
It does include children, and again, we have heard reports of casualties of some of the adults in the front office, but Pierre, how strong is this news? How much can we say to people that we know that it has reached this shattering level?
Well, the situation is very fluid, but we have been very careful to try to talk to as many different sources as we can from multiple agencies, and again from state, federal sources. We're being told that more than a dozen shot and killed at the school. Obviously, the parents and the school community will be notified as additional information comes in. But my sources are just devastated. They're calling it a tragedy of epic proportions.
All right, Pierre, thank you. And of course, we know there are also people in the hospital that right now they've been taken into emergency rooms where doctors are working to make sure that no more lives are lost, but some of them are seriously injured. The gunman confirmed dead, as we said earlier, and we will keep you posted throughout the day on this crushing event at the elementary school in Connecticut. And one of the parents recently told me that as the children were walked out of the school by their teachers, some of them were told to cover their eyes as they walked and just hold on to each other.
For the parents, who would soon begin receiving phone calls from the school and news alerts from the media, it marked the start of every parent's worst nightmare. First responders arrived at the scene within minutes. Police, firefighters, and medical personnel moved swiftly into a situation filled with uncertainty and danger. They didn't know if there were multiple shooters or if explosives were involved. All they knew was that every second counted. Officers searched room by room, escorting frightened children out of the building and carrying injured victims to safety. Many first responders later described what they witnessed as the most traumatic moment of their careers: the silence of classrooms, the fear in children's eyes, and the heartbreaking reality of lives lost. Within a short time, officers located Adam Lanza inside the school. According to investigators, he took his own life as police advanced.
It's my view that Adam Lanza actually wanted to place himself in the annals of serial killers, spree killers, mass killers.
Ending the attack, but leaving behind a scene that would forever scar the community. The entire shooting lasted approximately 5 minutes, but the impact would last a lifetime. As parents gathered near the school, waiting desperately for news, the emotional weight of the tragedy became painfully clear. Families were escorted to a nearby firehouse where they would learn whether their children were safe. Some were reunited with their sons and daughters in scenes of overwhelming relief. Others waited in growing agony, and when the final lists were read, the reality set in. Many would never see their children again. The grief that filled that room became one of the most haunting images associated with the Sandy Hook tragedy. In the days that followed, the entire nation mourned with Newtown. Vigils were held across the country. Messages of support poured in from around the world, and the names and faces of the victims were honored in countless memorials. The stories of bravery from teachers and staff, who shielded children with their bodies, who guided entire classrooms to safety, who put their own lives at risk without hesitation, reminded the world of extraordinary courage in the face of unimaginable danger. Sandy Hook also sparked a massive national conversation about school safety, mental health, and gun laws.
He was very narcissistic. He saw himself as being more precious and special than other people. Whatever was troubling him, he felt it was his justification to kill other people to prove his point.
It was a very tragic, observation on all parts, because then you could see the carnage that was present.
I think he was a lonely, broken, psychologically disordered, personality-affected individual who had been let down systematically by his mother and, to a degree, by a system that should have protected him.
Debates intensified across political and social lines, and although opinions differed, one thing united everyone. The lives lost at Sandy Hook represented a tragedy that should never be forgotten. Families of the victims became advocates, pushing for changes they hope to protect other children in the future. More than a decade later, Sandy Hook remains one of the darkest days in American history, but it is remembered not only for the tragedy, but also for the love, bravery, and humanity shown in the face of horror. The children whose lives were taken are remembered every year by their families and by people all over the world. The educators who stood between their students and danger are honored as heroes. And the first responders who ran toward the sound of gunfire continue to be recognized for their courage. As we look back at December 14th, 2012, we honor the victims, support the survivors, and recognize the profound impact this event had on communities across the United States.
I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own.
Sandy Hook stands as a reminder of both the fragility of life and the importance of protecting our schools, our children, and one another. It is a story of heartbreaking loss, but also of strength, unity, and enduring determination to create a safer future